Hey guys, I'm back, but I'm in the seat this time. We're going to talk about Web3 games, what's broken, what needs to be fixed, and maybe open game protocol's role in this. But yeah, just as a reminder, I'm Kuleen. I lead gaming at the Solana Foundation. And with me, I've got Justin.
Hey, everybody.
Justin, you want to give a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder of Open Game Protocol. I've been in games for almost 20 years now. We built games like Words with Friends, Farmville, and many others on Facebook and then on mobile. And now I've been spending my time trying to figure out what we can do to grow the Web3 game ecosystem.
Awesome. All right, let's get into it. What's wrong with Web3 games? Why haven't they worked?
Yeah, so I think the single biggest thing is that we haven't brought game developers into this ecosystem, in crypto in general, in a way that they can easily get involved. And so when I think about what we're asking of game developers, it's already so hard to build a game that succeeds. And so on top of that, we're asking them to create new assets that also succeed. And so I think if you think about the challenge from just like what a game developer has to get done in order to be successful, we've been asking too much. That's my main sort of opinion on this. And I think what we need to do is provide a lot of the benefits with less of the sort of work required. And one of the main being, how do I distribute my game? And how do I reward my users for playing is a big part of that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been really interesting to me to see that distribution has been such a chokehold item for games, and the behaviors that result from distribution being so constrained, both in terms of like how you advertise for your games, and you see this phenomena for mobile games. I mean, maybe some of you in the audience have experienced this, like fake ads. You get advertised a game that's about saving a princess. You click on the ad, you download the game. It's actually nothing about saving the princess. It's a match 3 game. And the reason that behavior happens is because everyone's just optimizing for ads that convert to an install, not anything that's honest or makes sense. And then on the flip side, you sort of see gaming content also coalesce towards games that monetize well enough to justify the ad spend. So everything on mobile is like a match 3 game or a casino game. And so the longer I've spent in games, the more your point's really been like emphasized to me that distribution is king. And I think that's something that you sort of need to see distribution infrastructure shift in order for games as an industry to actually shift and grow. And so I'm kind of curious, you touched on this a little bit towards the end of what you were saying, like how could this shift happen?
Yeah, so I think if you look at where game developers have challenges today, distribution is the piece. And if you look at what crypto and Web3 have been focused on with games, a lot of it has been around payments and not about distribution. If you solve distribution for games, you will bring all of the game developers into Web3. So what we've been thinking is just how do we take the communities that already exist and how do we take these growth levers that others have proven out in the ecosystem and make them easily accessible to game developers. So the thinking is that game developers, they make $100 billion a year. It's an industry that doesn't have a monetization problem, but as Kuleen mentioned, the biggest challenge is finding the users in the first place. And when it comes to releasing a game in the App Store now, everybody discovers games through ads. So every single game that you play at this point, you probably had to discover it through an ad on Facebook. And these ads are hyper-tuned to the point where games have been competing on them for 15 years now. And so a new game developer has to beat all of the previous games that ever came out in the App Store in order to get a chance at growing to be big in 2025. And so threading that needle has become almost impossible. So the last few years have been very, very difficult for game developers to succeed. And I think where crypto can play a role in this is we have one of the best distribution mechanisms that's been invented in recent years since the sort of early social mobile days where it was easier to acquire users. And that's the fact that if you reward users, they'll advocate for the games or for the content. And so the real question is, how do you give games that benefit without actually having them be forced to sort of put an entire game economy on chain? There's certainly a place for that, but a lot of game developers are just looking for a simpler way to do this.
Yeah. the way I've sort of seen it is like over the arc of the games industry, you sort of started with big box sort of retailing. You bought the game for 40, 50, 60, now 70, $80. Then the next sort of distribution innovation was like, you can just make the games free and monetize their microtransactions so that there's zero barrier to entry to install the game. And the sort of next paradigm could be you're actually incentivized in specific ways to actually do the install. And we've seen some crypto games experiment with this like pay-to-play model, and it seems like everyone's struggled to figure out how do you actually make this sustainably work. And so I'm kind of curious how you think about addressing that issue of like, okay, we actually want to give people monetary rewards for engaging in the game, but we also don't want to just get completely farmed by like very sophisticated farming operations.
Yeah, I think this is a key part of what's been so difficult about solving this problem. So my take is that there are a lot of different actors that you're solving for when it comes to building something in Web3. And on the one hand, you have traders. And getting traders behind your product is key to succeeding in Web3. After all, like the financialization is what makes the space so interesting. But when you start to mix players and traders, they have different interests at that point. And so one of the common failure states has been succeeding in one and not the other. You make a game a lot of players love, but no traders love. Well, then why did you build it in Web3? You make a game that a lot of traders love and no players love. You have like a kind of a similar problem. So I think maybe part of the issue there is we've been expecting them to coalesce around the same assets, and saying that this item in the game is also something that the traders have to covet, not just the players. And the problem is if you're successful, you can actually ruin the game economy. I think where things could get better is if we start to see these ecosystems as multiple different parties that have different interests that could actually support each other in meaningful ways. And I think the question then becomes, how do traders fuel the distribution for games? And the games can use these rewards that are fueled by the traders to actually go and get the distribution that they need. If we can build a system like this, you don't have the problem where Axie Infinity becomes the most popular game, so the assets get so expensive that no one can afford to play it anymore. You're actually using, everybody gets what they want. Traders get something that they can actually focus on, thinking about what the value of this asset should be, and then the players get like some sort of small reward where they're just focused on playing the game and earning a little bit at a time. I think when we focus on trying to make the game something that's so financially rewarding that it can replace like a full-time job, now you're in the realm of like inviting farmers when really what I think people are after is meaning. So if you think about like why are licensed games or sort of IP-driven games like Monopoly Go or Pokemon successful, it's the association with a brand that we feel affinity toward. And the cool thing about Web3 is we do have communities that are formed around a lot of these tokens. And the big question is like, how do we actually let game developers work with those existing communities to take advantage of these ecosystems?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. Well, I guess I'll make 2 points. One is, I've always thought that in the crypto world, people talk a lot about the UX is bad, that like using wallets is too hard, and like that's the reason that crypto adoption isn't as large as it could be. And I think there's some truth to that, but I actually think that people kind of have it backwards. The single most powerful effect in crypto, to put it crassly, is number go up. I can guarantee that that is the reason that most people, myself included in this audience, probably created the wallet the first time they did, is that number go up effect. And to me, like a lot of crypto is about figuring out, or a lot about leverage in crypto is figuring out how do you use that effect in a way that like is powerful as a distribution mechanism for your protocol or whatever you're building, but doesn't sort of subvert the core experience you're trying to deliver.
Yeah, that's right. How do you actually get the momentum from it, but not have it take over and have negative effects? So, yeah, I mean, I think that the other part of that is that we already know how to grow the ecosystem. If you look back to the early days of Web3, most coins were distributed by sort of mining, right? And mining used to be something that more people could do more easily with like a simple machine. And so we kind of lost that along the way. A lot of people ask like, why is growth plateauing across so many different token communities? Well, we gave up on giving the coin away. That's the answer. We already know how to grow crypto. You give it away for free. The question is, how do you give it away in a way that gets the distribution that you want? But there's just so many people in the world right now that will, their first experience with crypto, if they have to on-ramp and KYC and buy a new coin, they're never coming. And so our job isn't necessarily to convince those people that they have to buy in. We've already captured a lot of the people that are willing to do that. If you look at the difference between what made games go vertical, and it was that transition from packaged goods to freemium. That was what increased the size of the gaming market by 100-fold. It was when we stopped asking people to pay up front and we started offering them games for free. And the irony is that we already know this in crypto, that this is how most of the networks started. Back when no one valued the tokens, they were given away for free for mining, and that's how these networks became popular in the first place. But somewhere along the way, farming came, and we had to spend more and more time thinking about preventing Sybil attacks and focusing on getting people to buy first. And we actually slowed the growth of the ecosystem. So I think at the most base level of Web3, when you think about adoption, what's the number one thing we can do? It's give more of this away to the people that actually would be getting onboarded. Do it in a way that's supporting like an actual ecosystem, and to make sure that on the same token, like when I spoke about developers before, I said we're asking too much of them. We don't need to crypto pill a game developer to build in this ecosystem. We need to have a way where anybody can implement in 5 minutes something that integrates with Solana, where they're not actually forced to think about redesigning their entire game economy to be part of the ecosystem. And if we can accomplish these things, we can go from having mindshare with 0.0001% of game developers to everybody, because they all want distribution. They all use Facebook. They all look for these channels today. So yeah, I think this is the big unlock for games over the next year.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, one thing that we think a lot about is this sort of transition from having to buy into your first crypto to getting to earn it. And I think the earn part of this is extremely powerful, and one thing that I think both of us want to see more games tap into. So we've got, we're sort of wrapping up here. Any final things you want to hint at, Alpha, you want to drop for the group?
Yeah, so Open Game Protocol, you can go check it out. We are extremely close to shipping, and our hope is to basically take all the sort of ecosystems that already exist in Solana and find a new way for game developers to build and collaborate with these token communities. So you'll be hearing from us soon.
Awesome. That's time for us. Thanks, Justin. And actually, guys, so this was the last piece of official programming on the stage. Thanks a ton for being here. I hope that you guys got to enjoy your time, accelerate, learn stuff, make meaningful connections, and are just excited about what's to come. And we really look forward to seeing all of you guys in Abu Dhabi for Breakpoint in December. And in the meanwhile, I just have one word to say: accelerate.